Hi folks, my name is Rohit Kakkar and I welcome you to this course on Python training in Q&A format. So this format that I am taking is very different from any other format that you will ever see on the web because here we take questions in a very intuitive manner and in plain simple English language, and we give the answers in through code and data exploration. So this is how you learn very easily, where the questions come in your mind in a plain simple English language. You try to answer those questions through code and data exploration, and this makes your life very easy while learning Python, SQL, and data science. Now, last time we discussed about how to read data in Python, where we had used an example of Netflix underscore titles dot xlsx as the data file that we have read, and this file was in my location where this notebook is present. But could be situation where you have to read a file which is not in the folder where your notebook is present, but you have to read that file from somewhere else. Okay, so I will show you how you can read the file if that is not uh, in the location where your notebook is present. So I will read save.csv as an example. In order to do that, I will provide a file path which is for me as users underscore Rohit Kakkar, where this file is present. Okay, so how can I see the file path of my file in my system? So I can click on the location where my file is present. I can right click and I can get info in Mac, where I can see where it is present. So it's present in Macintosh HD, which is users, and then Rohit Kakkar. So Macintosh HD is like a C drive in Windows. So even in Windows, whenever you click on any file, right click on any file, you can look at the file location. Based on that, you provide the file location, which I am calling as file path, and then I'm using a data frame 2 where I will read this CSV file save.csv. So I will use a function read.csv file path, which is the location plus my file name. Okay, so let me run the cells. So file path has been given, and I have run another data set which is coming from save.csv, and I can see the shape of this data set and the head of this data set that we discussed last time. So shape is nothing but the number of rows and columns. So it has 10,000 rows and 4 columns. Okay, so moving on. So this is an example of how you can read a file which is not in the folder where your notebook is present. If it is in the notebook, if it is in the folder where your notebook is present, life is very simple. So head is basically the sample of the data set, the first 5 rows of the data set, and I can provide a number in head. Okay, I can provide df.head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10, 20, 50, right? So it will accordingly give me the top rows based on the number that you provide. So if I say df.head 2, it will give me the top 2 rows and not the top 5 rows. By default, it's 5 rows if I don't provide any number in the curly brackets, right? In the curved brackets, if I provide 10, then it will give me first 10 rows. Okay, so this is also very interesting for you to see more data, more sample, because in order to become a great data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, you need to understand data very thoroughly. Okay, so for now we are using Netflix underscore titles as our data set throughout this course, throughout these sessions, to understand the data in as much detail as possible. And once we are able to understand this data in as detail as possible, we can come up with lot of use cases to use this data to either gain insights or create machine learning models, deep learning models from it, and we will develop ourselves as data scientists using this data set throughout our course. It's not very big data set, and the fundamentals that you apply for this data set will be relevant for any other data set that you work with, right? So we need a sample data which is very relevant, very intuitive for you to understand. Once you understand these fundamentals, you can apply in any data in any domain that you are working with, be it in technology, retail, banking, product, and so on. Okay, so Netflix underscore titles. We all watch shows, movies, videos on Netflix, right? So we know what Netflix is. So it is a platform which has a lot of content for us to watch. It has TV serials, it has movies, and lot of other shows. Okay, and there are 12 columns. Now, to proceed further, the next thing that we need to do is understand the columns. We know that there are 7,787 rows and 12 columns. Okay, so 12 columns is what we need to understand for us to proceed further with our journey of Python and data science from here onwards. So I will first read these column names and try to understand the meaning of these columns in a plain English term. So show ID. Show ID could be, let's say, unique ID for a particular show, which I'm not sure, but this is what my assumption is just by reading the name of the column. Okay, so all the data sets are in the industry are generated in such a way that the column names are as intuitive as possible in a plain English terminology. Okay, so if this show ID, then a show ID could be a unique number for a particular show, or if one show is repeating multiple times, then it could be a unique ID for that show. So if S1 is there 10 times in this data set, then I will see S1 10 times. Or it is possible that there are only unique shows here. So all the row is unique at a level of show ID. It's also possible. So we have to keep our options open. Okay, so now we are dealing into exploratory data analysis, which is very critical part of data science. So we have to keep our options open. We have to explore data in as much detail as possible to understand it thoroughly. Type. Now this could be a TV show, this could be a movie. So just by looking at the top 5 rows, I can see we have TV show, movie, two options, but there could be more options which I have not seen yet. Then title, most likely it should be the title of the show. Let's say Friends, How I Met Your Mother, and so on. But looking at the top 5 rows, I am seeing numbers 0.03, 07, 19, 23, 59. This second and third looks like a timestamp. Okay, so now in practical situation, data is not always correctly populated. There are errors in the data, and you should be aware of those errors and limitations while working. Now, we will see what other values are there in title, and then we'll try to understand, is this an issue? Are these the right values? And how to deal with this going forward. Director. So who directed that show? I can see names. I do see NAN. Now what is NAN? Not a number. Not a number means I don't know. So we have two values in a particular column, which are the ones that we have to deal with very properly. Okay, they trouble us a lot, which is NAN and none. NAN, none, null. Okay, now if let's say there are 7,000 rows, and for 2,000 rows we have director NAN, that means it's not a number, we don't know the director. It could also be null where nothing is present. Okay, so we need to understand how to deal with these missing values or incorrect values. Then cast, we would know the actor, actresses, and other people involved in the show. Country, in which the country, now this country could be either the country where it was created, or it went live, or it could be same, where it is created, where it went live is same. So most likely it is an originator country. So this show was created in Brazil. Date added. When was it added on Netflix? August 14, 2020. Release year. So in which year it was released? What is the rating? TV, MAR, PG 13. We don't know what other values are there in rating. Duration. Okay, so how big the show is, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 10 seasons, or in terms of movie, how big the movie is, 93 minutes, 78 minutes, 80 minutes. Listed in, so it is listed in which all other shows, or what, it seems like it is a genre as well. So TV, sci-fi, dramas, international movies, horror movies, action, adventure dramas. So again, we have to be careful while working with this column. Is it a genre? Is it listed in any other international shows globally, and so on? description what this show is all about. Okay, so I will stop here because the video will become a bit long if I continue from here. But in order to understand things in data science, you should have practical knowledge of business, of how things are in different industry. It's how things work in your domain, because if you have that good understanding, you will be a good data scientist in that domain, because that knowledge is very very critical. So in the next video we will look at how to understand these columns in much more detail and much more depth, so that we are very clear on what these columns are all about, what are unique values in these columns. And like this we will proceed on our journey to become a good data scientist in a very intuitive, very simple English questions and answers through code and data exploration. And we will also look at how to tackle missing values, incorrect values, and how to create models, business insights, and maybe data pipelines from here, which can help the end users, the business users, or different product teams, technology teams to come up with, let's say, recommendations for their users and so on. So there could be different use cases from single data set. Okay, thank you, all the very best.